Welcome back to Notier's Frontiers Diaries. In our last episode, we faced our nemesis.
We conquered Schaefer Pass, yes. Schaefer Trail.
We did, and that was in Moab in Canyonlands in Utah, which is one of our favorite places that we've been to on the motorcycle in the United States.
Yeah.
We love that region. And Schaefer Pass, we've been there before 7 years ago. We were very green, as you say. Yes. We didn't know what we were doing as far as off-road goes. And we were, I was in shorts. We didn't have helmets on. We were not prepared for any real off-road. And we got to Schaefer's Pass. We turned around because once we hit some sand. But this time...
we were well prepared. We had helmets, we had jackets, we had pants, good company, experience.
Yeah, we had company. We were traveling with Emiliano and Melissa, who we met in Africa. And they were two up riding as well, which was super awesome. And it was fantastic. Absolutely great to finally get to the bottom of that pass and feel like we had conquered something and come a long way. And when we got to the bottom, though, our adventures...
which took 20 minutes, by the way. It was this big thing I built up for 7 years of we're going to do... I mean, it was amazing. But it's a very quick descent. And
yes. And when we got to the bottom, we had the whole rest of the day to explore Canyonlands. Now, we'd already decided that we weren't going to be taking White Rim Trail because that would have been way too long, and Emiliano and Melissa had to be at work the next day. Back in Salt
Lake City.
Yeah. So they were actually going to be leaving that night, and so we decided instead...
we hung a left down Potash Road.
That's right.
And my God, I am so thankful we did. I'm sure that White Rim Trail has... we will one day go down that road as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm very thankful that we took Potash Road because it was just... we dove into a Martian landscape of just oddities and wonder.
Martian landscape is the perfect description because it's so red.
Yeah.
All the sands and all the rocks.
And there's weird chimney formations of just, it's just out of this world. It's in this world. And it's just fantastic.
And you can see the stripes of all the different sandstone layers.
Mineral deposits.
You feel like this is an ancient land. But as we went through this valley, there were things that looked like Thor's hammer. just sticking up. Then there were mesas that looked like Wile E. Coyote and the Road Runner, like perfect Looney Tunes, perfect Looney Tunes mesas and plateaus in the landscape.
And there were some challenging sections in it where it keep you on your toes, so you can't just go staring off into the landscape. As a rider of the vehicle, Marisa was starbound and I was just
staring off into the landscape. But I know that like every time we'd hit a little gully, it'd be quite sandy in there from all the runoff whenever it would rain, which it had just rained. Just the day before, and so you had to be careful going through those little
always
bits
careful.
Yes, you are always careful.
But it's just heaven. It's just bliss, and I'm so glad that there's places like that within the United States, and it just gets me excited for what Tajikistan, and Tajikistan. I still didn't say it right. But all the stands, what they have, some of these just Wadi Rum, just crazy landscapes out there in the world that...
But I think each one is unique in its own way. I'm not sure there's anything in this world that's quite like Moab, Utah. There's something very iconic and distinct about the American West.
Yeah.
That it reminds me of like the old spaghetti Western movies, and it looks like a slightly different version of Monument Valley out there.
Yeah.
You have those cliffs.
A condensed, smaller version of Monument Valley. But it's cool because it's condensed because there's a lot of, natural formations all in a tight grouping instead of, a wide landscape of flatness with some, shiprock sticking out of nowhere and stuff. But
yeah, very true. And at this point in time, we were getting a little hungry. And so we were looking for a shady spot to eat. And finding
shade in the desert sucks. But there's all these mesas, but the way that the sun's casting, and you're riding in this valley, and you don't just ride towards stuff. You kind of stick to the trail as a respectful rider. Please do so.
Yeah.
So we were hunting down anything with shade.
Right. That would be along our way.
Yeah. And it was pretty difficult. But then we did find one of these. It looked like a big old top hat or something, rock sticking out of the ground.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like if a volcano was to erupt a bunch of like bubbles and then they got frozen in rock formation, just sticking up out of the earth. Red, that really deep ochre red, just beautiful area.
Riding my bike through it, I was doing just fine. Marisa had jumped off, and then my front tire just dug what seemingly felt like 13 feet into just nothingness. But yeah, forked over and I dropped it, and all is well that ends well. We were about to get into shade and eat food and hydrate ourselves, but picking up a bike in the same city, crap. In Emiliano, I was like, don't go that way. And it was like, wasn't going to, And then now I'm in it, so either now I have to turn around, which is nearly impossible to get back, or struggle on and go forward. And I got the bike to shade. And that might have been one of the most beautiful spots that I've dropped it. In Peru, the scale of where Tim has dropped his bike at beautiful places is almost unlimited. It's one of my top favorite places I've ever fell. So. Fallen.
Yes, it was a beautiful spot. And that's kind of right where we had our lunch.
Yeah.
And so we sat in the shade. We had packed some sandwiches that we'd gotten earlier that morning.
And right across from us in the beautiful sunshine as we're hanging out in the shade like we're on Dune, like there's this big witch's hat of a rock monument sticking up, And
that's a good description.
Yeah, just absolutely, again, just fantastic.
Best view.
Just having a great day with great people, with a great wife.
Oh, thank you.
And
it was so cool to reminisce with Emiliano and Melissa as well about what we'd just done. And that's some of the best stuff, right? You're out there, you're adventuring, and that's great. But you get to relive it when you look back at your footage and think back about your memories.
Yeah.
And that's half the fun as well, I think.
Yeah.
It's fun planning it out and dreaming it up. It's fun living it, and it's fun reliving it.
And, I mean, I partake in these YouTube videos and I love them and it's awesome. But, like, it's always, I watch them for the first time with bright eyes too, because, like, I see what's in front of us and I'm trying not to get damaged. And, of course, there's just residue beauty that leaks from everywhere. Mm-hmm. But, Marissa's got this little 360 camera and the pans with the GoPro. She does an awesome job. And, reliving some of those memories through our own videos, as kind of lame as that sounds, is really awesome for me.
Is.
Because I don't get to go, whoa, this is really nice,
Yeah.
And so it's...
And sometimes you're cold or wet or hungry, as we were in this situation, or tired, or whatever it is. And so you're seeing these beautiful things, but it's even better when you're on a couch.
No, I mean...
I wouldn't say even better.
No.
But it's also nice when you're sitting under a blanket or something and you have a cup of tea and you get to look at these beautiful views again.
Yeah.
Now, there's something to be said about taking a lot of footage while you're writing. It does detract a bit. And there's some people that don't like to do it. And there have been moments in my life where I don't like to do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just want to devote all of your concentration on living in the moment as opposed to worrying about your cameras.
I think it's 50-50 just to kind of jump in, though. Like, you don't want to live through your camera lens, in my opinion, and I love taking pictures, and I love looking back on those. And, like, our first little travels going halfway down to Baja, before we actually bought a GoPro, we had like this old little knockoff camera, and some of that footage that we look at, it's just like,
it's not very
man,
good.
I wish we had a GoPro, because we did some really cool stuff. Our higher quality camera, we're not,
Right, it doesn't have to be GoPro.
Yeah.
But just a camera that can capture it more fully. And it doesn't even have to be video, but just however you are documenting your travels. And some people do not document their travels at all. But for us, we found that we like to have those memories on hand. I don't have the best memory ever. And so
does not.
I do like to look back and be like, oh yeah, oh, how great that was and how beautiful. And this was one of those moments, just sitting, having lunch and thinking back. And I know, I can't wait to look at this footage and be able to relive it again. And from that lunch spot, we headed on towards Potash Road. I'm going to say it right.
Everybody clap. Let's
I
have
would say Potash.
an applause break.
Potash Road. And this is called Potash Road because of that mineral, potash, which they mine there, and they have these pools where they evaporate the water out to get it. And I think they use it for fertilizer.
Yeah, and Google Maps, it looks pretty cool because like there's these weird, like half reservoir, half, salt drying field looking thing. But yeah, we rode by them.
Yeah, and on our way there, the trail actually, it goes up and down a little bit.
A little.
Uh-huh. And it went up onto this cliff edge that really looked like Dead Horse Canyon. I'm not sure if it was connected to Dead Horse Canyon, but it had that same look, which looks very Grand Canyon-esque.
Yeah, and it had to have been the Colorado River. Like
I think so.
Every awesome river, I mean that river just snakes around.
Oh yeah, just winds
And anytime
back and
there's
forth.
500-foot cliffs, you can just assume that it's probably the Colorado River that cut her.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah.
It was beautiful, just stopping, taking pictures, overlooking that cliff.
But again, it was hot.
It was.
It was really hot, and so we were hunting for shade, and there's just no shade to be found.
There isn't.
But we saw this big, little peninsula in the sky that jutted out, and we saw 2 KTMs.
Yeah.
An 1190R and an 1190. Or no, one was a 1290.
And the guys on these KTMs
we rode
from
up. We
Bolivia.
were just smiling from ear to ear, like, hey, you got cool bikes.
Yeah, Bolivians on KTMs who lived in Miami. And it's just kind of like a culmination of all of our travels right there in that island in the sky, as you say. We had Emiliano, who we'd met in Africa, who met his girlfriend in Africa, and we were meeting fellow KTM riders in the United States, and they were from Bolivia. What a small world.
It was really awesome.
So we were taking Potash Road, and eventually it turns into the paved section that goes to Moab. Winds along the Colorado River. It's beautiful, and it passes an area called Poison Spider Bite, which is an interesting
a road.
name.
It's not even an area. It's like, but Emiliano had done some research, and there's some petroglyphs and some dinosaur footprints that he wanted to see.
Yeah, and I remember when we were in Peru once, we were traveling with the Adventure Hacks, and there were also some dinosaur footprints that we wanted to see. But it started raining. We were really cold. We were already wet from previous rains, and we decided to skip it. It was a bit out of our way. Yeah. And ever since then, that is disappointing, but I wanted to see dinosaur footprints. I mean, I guess who doesn't want to see dinosaur footprints? Sure. And so we had this opportunity to see some, and I'm like, yes, we have to go. We have to.
And I was a bit turned off by Poison Spider Bite Road. I don't know if...
Yeah, it doesn't sound inviting.
I'm the one who gets all the poison spider bite stuff. Tick bites,
your tick
poison oak.
Stuff.
I'm
the poison oak.
I don't want to talk about that. Read the book. So we turned up the Poison Spider Bite Road, then got to Poison Spider Bite parking lot,
where we had to take the Poison Spider Bite path. To go to the dinosaur
path
footprints.
is very loose because there's like, you can see there's other people with binoculars looking at where the footprints were, and they were like, we think that's where it is, but we don't know how to get there.
Kind of up on a cliff. You're definitely looking down at where you could fall. Which is, in my opinion, I don't like having that view. Some people like that.
So there's these dinosaur footprints that were in this rock that had fallen off, that had dislodged itself from the sediment layers, and one of the sediment layers had sheared off, exposing the footprint. And just what weird kind of world, like
it's crazy.
It's just awesome. And on the side of the cliffs are the petroglyphs from...
petroglyphs from the Native American people.
Of
this region.
There was rams and deer and such, and so it's just, I don't know how, I mean, obviously millions of years, but like these two different imprints on this stone that one is eroding away, but as it erodes away, it's exposing other things from millennia ago.
Right.
And it just makes you sit back and think about how cool the world really is and how many different layers there are.
Yes, I think it was such a cool experience to realize a dinosaur had walked here,
Yeah.
and now I can put my hand where that dinosaur's foot had been.
Yeah, it was one of those weird three.
It was like, yeah, three-toed.
Spock dinosaur.
Spock dinosaur. And kind of like your perfect, typical dinosaur footprint.
Like, it wasn't a raptor, but when you think of because we often think about raptors' footprints. But that's an iconic foot. We don't have any. It was a something-saurus.
Someone knows what it was.
Yeah. But it was really, really cool. It was just, when you get to touch stuff like that, and you were able to touch it, and I'm sure if a million people touched it, it would start eroding it. But
yeah, that's true. Actually, I'm not sure I touched it, but just to put my hand hovering over it.
I touched it.
From the footprints, we continued on down the road, and we went to some waterfalls that Emiliano knew about.
Emiliano, they had the bail, and so it was like a last huzzah. Again, they like to hike, which is cool, and we don't like to hike.
I mean, we hike. We're not like against hiking. We hike all the time. But I guess it doesn't call us in the same way that the motorcycle does. But we were totally down for this hike. Oh yeah,
for sure.
We were really excited about it because you're in this desert landscape, and to think there's a waterfall that you can go swimming in is, just this great contradiction of like the water and the life that it brings in such a stark, arid area. And the sun was setting at that moment, which is the perfect time to be in the desert. So we parked in the parking lot and started on down the trail. And it was a little bit of a hike, not too long by any means.
No.
And it also wasn't strenuous, but you did have to cross the river a few times. It's a creek, Mill Creek.
But, it was frigid cold.
It was very cold, yes.
And you got to take your shoes off because, we have these, universal shoes that would dry on any given good scenario.
I just walked through with my shoes.
God.
I didn't take them off.
So cold. So cold.
But these beautiful river grasses were growing along the river, and it was so peaceful. There were a lot of other people on the trail, but you can kind of hear this rustling of the grasses. They'd all kind of gone to seed and had these beautiful tufts at the end of them. And the wind was slowly blowing through it. And then the sun would sparkle along the river and give these shadows through the grasses. And we were just hiking along. And there were these red cliffs on either side of us. It was a gorgeous hike. I didn't even really need the waterfall for it to be 100% worth it.
But when we got there, we kind of waited our turn for the small gathering of people that were there to go away, and then we got it all by ourselves. Emiliano and Melissa actually
went swimming.
Well, we did not go swimming.
No,
I stuck my feet
in.
It
was so cold.
It was way too cold. But it was that perfect time where the sun angle was just this golden pool. It was pretty cool.
Perfect. And it was a great way to end a really incredible day and to say goodbye to Emiliano.
Which was sad.
It was sad.
But we know we will see him again. We are
absolutely
very close to him, relatively speaking, even though we're in Illinois and he's in Utah.
It's crazy how motorcycle travelers just end up crossing paths and diverting and crossing paths again. I think that's just part of the lifestyle. And so, yeah, I have a very good feeling that we will be meeting up again.
For sure.
Well, I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below. Ding, ding. And I hope to be seeing you next time where we continue on through Utah
Dun,
and
dun,
go to
dun.
Escalante and come across a few goblins.
Oh, yes. Peace, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Stay safe. Let's do that again. Bye. Peace, everybody.
Bye.
Stay safe. This time, stay safe.
Every time you mess up at the very end, I don't
know.
know how you do it, but I just cut it out and put in the original
All right.
mess up.
All right.
Bye.